The brachial plexus is widely renowned as a horribly complicated area of anatomy, yet there are a number of mnemonics and tricks you can use to get your head around it. It's a complex anatomical network formed by the anterior rami of the lower four cervical nerves C5 to 8 and first thoracic nerve T1. Functionally, it's responsible for supplying sensation to and innervating the muscles of the upper limb, as well as scapular, pectoral and thoracodorsal regions of the body. I find a great way to approach brachial plexus is by drawing a schematic diagram. I use a simple way to remember how to draw the brachial plexus, as follows. So, you draw a stick like this, draw the same one a few below, and then flip it and draw one in the middle like that. So from its origin in the spinal cord, the plexus is subdivided into roots, trunks, divisions, cords and branches. So that's 5 sections. So if we split these into 5, one that end, and then split this middle section into 3. So the way we remember which division comes first can be the mnemonic rugby teams drink cold beers. So we've got our rugby teams drink cold beers, roots, trunks, divisions, cords and branches. Let us now discuss each of these levels in more detail, starting with the roots. So, the roots. The anterior rami of the spinal nerves C5 to 8 and T1. So C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. 3 nerves arise directly from these roots. Firstly, we have the dorsal scapular nerve from C5. This supplies rhomboids major and minor and levator scapulae. Secondly, the long thoracic nerve, which is formed by roots C5, 6 and 7. So C5, 6, 7, so that's LTN. That supplies serratus anterior. So our third branch from the roots is the first intercostal nerve from T1, first IC, which supplies the first intercostal muscles and the skin overlying that area. So the roots converge to form 3 trunks. So we've got superior, middle and inferior. As you can see, superior is formed by C5 and 6 roots, middle by C7 and inferior by C8 and T1. 2 branches arise from the superior trunk. The suprascapular nerve, which supplies supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles of the rotator cuff, and the other one is the nerve to subclavius, which, as the name suggests, supplies the subclavius muscle. In the posterior triangle of the neck, each trunk divides into anterior and posterior divisions. Therefore, there are 3 anterior and 3 posterior divisions, which pass behind the middle of the clavicle. To draw this, I know that I simply just have to draw a cross in the top box here, and then do it like a tick in the second one. And so, as we know, we'll find out later that all the posterior divisions join to form the posterior chord. So I'm going to basically draw every line that's joining this middle line is a posterior division. So this one, and this one. Therefore, all the others are anterior. So this one, and this one. There are no branches from the divisions, so they're relatively straightforward to understand. Next, we have the cords. So anterior and posterior divisions combine to form 3 cords, which are named according to their arrangement around the second part of the axillary artery. So that's the part that's posterior to pectoralis minor muscle. So at the top of the diagram we have the lateral cord, formed by the anterior divisions of superior and inferior trunks and middle trunks. Then we have the posterior cord, formed by the 3 posterior divisions. And then we have the medial cord, formed as it's just a continuation of the anterior division of the inferior trunk. So the branches that come off these areas, firstly let's start with the lateral cord, which gives off 1 branch, and that's the lateral pectoral nerve that goes on to supply pectoralis major. From the posterior cord we have 3 branches. So we have the upper subscapular nerve, we have the middle subscapular nerve, which is also known as the thoracodorsal nerve, and with the lower subscapular nerve. So the upper and lower subscapular nerves supply subscapularis, and then lower subscapular also supplies teres major. Middle subscapular, or thoracodorsal, supplies latissimus dorsi. Finally, we have the medial cord, which gives rise to 2 sensory branches and 1 motor branch. So the motor branch is the medial pectoral nerve, which applies pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. And the 2 sensory branches are the medial cutaneous nerves of the arm and the forearm. Medial cutaneous nerves of the arm, medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm. Last but not least, the cords terminate as 5 major branches. At the moment, as you can see in our diagram, there are only 4 branches. So what we need to do is add in the median nerve, which is formed by parts from both the lateral and medial cords. So basically we just draw a little thing in here, a little thing in here, and then this is going to be our median nerve, which, as you can see, is you can locate in dissection prosection things, because it forms a middle prong of this M shape. So in order to remember which branches kind of happen here, we can use the mnemonic, my arm must reach up. So my arm must reach up. That means musculocutaneous nerve, axillary nerve, median nerve, radial and the ulnar nerves. Because of all the mixing and matching that goes on from the roots to these terminal branches, it can be difficult to remember which roots combine to form which branches. So, if we've labelled our hand as so, C5, 6, 7, 8 and T1, these are their roots, and the mnemonic we use is 3 musketeers, assassinated, 5 rats, 5 mice and 2 unicorns. As you can see, so 3 musketeers, these 3 roots, 5, 6, 7, form the musculocutaneous nerve. Assassinated form a gun shape, C5 and 6 form your auxiliary nerve. 5 rats and 5 mice, so all 5 roots form your radial and median nerves. And 2 unicorns, C8 and T1 form your ulnar nerve. If we now go back to our diagram, we can talk about the functions of these terminal branches. So firstly, the musculocutaneous nerve. This supplies your BBC muscles. These are the anterior muscles of your arm. Biceps brachii, brachialis and coracobrachialis that flex the elbow. Then, at the elbow, the musculocutaneous nerve becomes the lateral cutaneous nerve of the forearm, which supplies sensation to the lateral part of the forearm, as the name suggests. Next, you have the axillary nerve, which also has a motor branch that supplies your deltoid muscle of the shoulder, and some to teres minor, and then it also has a sensory branch, the lateral cutaneous nerve of the arm, which supplies sensation to the regimental badge area on the lateral shoulder. Next, we have the median nerve, which supplies the vast majority of the anterior compartment of the forearm, so those are your wrist and finger flexors. Let's put anterior compartment of forearm. Also supplies sensation to the thenar eminence, so the kind of chunky bit just under your thumb, lateral 2/3 of the palm, and palmar aspect of your lateral 3.5 digits, as well as the dorsal fingertips of your lateral 3.5 digits, so this area here. Next, we have the radial nerve, so that gives off, that supplies triceps, so it extends the elbow in the arm. It gives off a motor branch in the forearm and a sensory branch in the forearm. So the motor branch is called the posterior interosseous nerve, and that supplies all the extensors of the forearm, and then its sensory branch just supplies sensation to the posterior arm, forearm, and the lateral 2/3 of the dorsum of the hand, proximal dorsal aspect of the lateral 3.5 digits. Lastly, we have the ulnar nerve, which supplies FCU, flex carpi ulnaris in the forearm, the medial half of FDP, and then also mainly supplies your intrinsic muscles of the hand. So that includes your lumbricals, interossi and adductor pollicis. It's really important for grip function. Sensation-wise, it supplies the hypothenar eminence here, medial third of the palm, palmar aspect of the lateral 1.5 digits and the dorsal aspect as well.